Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to another StarCraft 2 England cast. Today I have got a pretty cool game. It is a PvP and let me introduce these two players to you all. In the top right position we do have the red Protoss. It is Team Dignitas, dBlinG. His opponent in the lower left is the blue Protoss. It is ShoWTimE. So these two players are going to be going up into what is a very fun matchup to watch. There's going to be Warpins, there's going to be Stalkers, there's probably going to be some Blink Micro, there's going to be some intense battles, there's going to be brilliant force fields, and no doubt it will be highly entertaining for all of us to watch. So let's wait and see what these two do have in store for us. Of course, this isn't a ladder game because there is this supply depot down here. I'm not actually entirely sure where this game was from. I don't know if it's just a practice, but I found it on drop.sc and therefore I thought, hey, these two look pretty good, so let's give it a cast. It's also a pretty cool game as far as I'm aware as well, which just makes things even better for all of us. So PvP, let's talk a little bit about the sort of strategies we could be seeing, the sort of intense micro battles that can obviously occur, and really most of them revolve around Stalkers. The intense micro really is Blink Micro and how well that is executed, and it's something that a lot of Protoss v Protoss games come down to. On the other hand, there's obviously the tech options, and the old saying that whoever expands first loses does still somewhat hold true, because should you take a quick Nexus and your opponent goes for some 3-gate or 4-gate pressure, a 3-gate Robo for example, you're going to be in bad times. But as we can see, currently both of these players are just taking down 2 gas very early on. This is tech heavy. It's the sort of thing where you're going to be going for a quick robotics facility or teching up to blink really fast. Basically, you need a lot of gas for some kind of tech-heavy play. So that means that, generally speaking, we're going to get into a good mid-game position. Neither player, if you've got these 2 gas down, will be able to afford an expansion anytime soon. But neither will they be able to afford many gateways, and as such they're not going to be able to get many units on the field early on, and as a result it's going to be relatively passive for the moment. We do see that ShoWTimE is sending this probe over, so just going to come over, just going to be like, hey, I wonder if I can scout you right now, I wonder what I can see. Do I get a good read off? If you can get this probe in, and for ShoWTimE it's going to be really advantageous because dBlinG doesn't have any scouting probes going across yet, so that means that dBlinG is somewhat blind at the moment, and obviously ShoWTimE is going to get a good read on the 2 gas timing, sees as well the cybernetics core getting chrono boosted, and as a result he can say, yeah, my opponent going for a very similar build to what I am right now, and that means I'm safe. He's not doing anything that can kill me. dBlinG still doesn't know if he's about to get killed though, and that's always gonna be the question in the back of your head. Is the person I'm playing just gonna 4-gate me? It's always gonna be a risk, but we can see here that we've got the sentry queued up after, and now this is very cool indeed. We've got a Stargate coming down, so this means that airplay, probably Phoenix harassment, is gonna be coming down from the green Protoss player in this situation, and I like Phoenix play. If we look up at dBlinG's base, of course we've got this dead space right around the main. You do have to commit quite a lot if you come over here, but you can come and attack the middle line here. Should the natural come down, which dBlinG is certainly positioning themselves to take shortly, you can come in from this angle as well and get a good amount of damage done to the worker line. Phoenix harassment can be incredibly cost effective, and as such I think dBlinG is going to have to scout this out soon, and he's going to definitely need to respond with a good number of Stalkers ASAP. And as we can see, for the moment dBlinG, he's just getting down the robotics facility, and even though their 2 builds are very different, they have the same overarching theme, which is I'm going to tech to something quite critical. dBlinG getting out the Observer, meanwhile ShoWTimE getting out the Phoenix. So different tech paths, but both very tech heavy plays. The sentry count here for ShoWTimE is looking really nice indeed. Just got 2 of those up, sitting by the ramp in case there was any aggression coming. Of course dBlinG with this earlier expansion will have the better economy by quite a substantial amount, but it also means that he's going to have less units on the field, and as such he's just a little bit more vulnerable. We've got these 2 gates out here. Warp gate tech is finished for both, and there's ShoWTimE warping in his warp gate there, so that was one thing I was just going to pick up on, is hey, he really needs to get that down sometime soon. Now we're seeing the Phoenix on their way over. Just 2 of them for the time being, so nothing too stressful. We do have a 3rd in production already, so this just means that we're really going to be getting a few more out. The Observer now for bling is going to come over and get all of this lovely, juicy scouting information. We see him coming straight through. He sees the Stargate. At the same time, though, he sees that his probes be dying to these Phoenix. Phoenix, though, just coming in, they're getting a good scout off. We see that the Immortal gets cancelled. That's quite a big thing, because straight away bling knows that if there's air, there's not going to be that many Stalkers, and as such, I do not need an Immortal out. That will do no good for me in the slightest. The 3rd Phoenix is now on its way across. This harassment is going to be pretty funky out of ShoWTimE, but bling, he's warped in those Stalkers. As long as he's got good control with those, he should be able to push back these Phoenix without them being able to achieve much damage. But of course, we see ShoWTimE is taking down his natural behind this. The sentry gets lifted there and does get sniped off. That was really good. Of course, knocking out those sentries early is an added bonus because they aren't able to bank up energy, which means less force fields later on. A couple more probes have been killed, only 4 in total for the moment, so not a huge amount. But of course, when we look at how cost effective Phoenix are, it's only good times for you. If you manage to kill anything without losing anything, you're going to be happy with the engagement. And of course, they can just keep coming in, they can keep being a pain. The Phoenix running through, just grabbing probes where and when they can. Another 2 here, another 2 there, pulling the Phoenix out using their speed and mobility in order to allow the shields to come back up. Bling, though, he's getting up his robotics bay, he's getting up his forge as well. That means that he's going to be taking straight to Colossus, because if your opponent has gone air, they are not going to be having any critical tech. He's not going to be having too much of a ground force, and therefore you can afford to take that slightly risky tech heavy strategy of going straight up to those Colossi. And once they do hit, your opponent is going to be in trouble trying to deal with them. But we can see here, ShoWTimE, having scouted it out, is responding by getting his own robotics bay. So it's really starting to gear up to be a pretty tense, a pretty equal match so far. Of course, when we take a look at the probe count, even though these Phoenix have been very aggressive and are chipping away, bling has had a solid lead in terms of the workers all throughout this game. That's just due to getting that natural nexus down so much sooner than ShoWTimE, but overall it will start leveling out as long as these Phoenix keep killing the probes. Bling, he's got to stay back in his base, he's got to be defensive, and that's the ultimate aim of harassment, is if you can't kill workers, is to make sure that the opponent's army stays back. A couple of units here and there is always going to be good. This probe has been spotted by the Phoenix as well. This means a denial of that proxy pylon, and as such, these additional gateways that we're going to warp in for some aggression are not going to be able to do so. Looking here, the Stalkers are managing to push back these Phoenix for the time being, but the sentry yet again gets lifted and taken out. A couple more probes are going to go down as well. I'm loving this Phoenix harassment out of ShoWTimE. He has only got those 6 out at the moment, but those 6 have managed to kill 13 workers, and that in itself is very good. A cannon is there now. Still, none of the Phoenix have actually died. Looking at the loss tab, we can see only 75 resources have been lost by ShoWTimE this game, compared to the 1,200 for bling. This is possibly one of the most cost-effective early games I have ever seen pulled off, and of course it's something that ShoWTimE is just continually enhancing in the fact that he's going for all of these probes, going for the engagements. But look at this, a large number of Stalkers are moving across. Blink is on its way, the Phoenix is anyone gonna die? One will go down, and that is the first loss for ShoWTimE. So far this game, the Stalkers, they are moving across. Meanwhile, the Observer getting taken out by the Phoenix. We've got the Colossus out on the field for ShoWTimE, and as we can see here, Bling moving across. He's got a substantial army, but it's a pure Stalker. But up against a single Colossus and just some Zealots and a few Stalkers of ShoWTimE, it could be very strong indeed, especially when that Bling's finished. Upgrade-wise, +1 is done for Bling. No upgrade yet for ShoWTimE. That upgrade advantage in itself is going to be super helpful. And so now, of course, with some good Blink micro, ShoWTimE could be in some problems here. He's busy trying to get in a defensive position. He's got these 2 cannons down. He's got the Phoenix there, but they're not going to be too good against the Stalkers. The Guardian Shield hits. A great Blink forward. Blink snipes off that Colossus very well. The Phoenix trying to get a couple of lifts up on the Stalkers to reduce their numbers, but as we're seeing here, Bling just has so many units. He was able to kill off some key tech, but with some good force fields, with some good warpins of Zealots, and with the +1 finished up now for ShoWTimE as well. Of course, bling was pushed back for the time being, but of course, Stalkers with bling are going to engage very well against Zealots alone, but another Colossus has joined the field, and we can see, though, that is not going to be enough for the moment. Bling just microing his heart out with these Stalkers, and we can see that the Colossus alone won't be enough. Another great forward bling sniping that down. That really has been the story of this game so far. These great forward blings are able to snipe off key pieces of ShoWTimE's army, and as such, bling is now picking this apart. Even though he has lost a lot more than his opponent so far, the engagements have actually been very cost effective, because of course for the majority of this game, bling has just lost a lot without killing anything. But now these Colossi can't come out quickly enough for ShoWTimE. That just hitting the field now is quite good, but bling does have the upgrade advantage yet again with +2. He's blinking back, and of course the bling Stalkers give you so much mobility in this situation that you can poke in, take a few shots, and blink back if you start losing the shields to keep the units alive for as long as possible. ShoWTimE, he's trying to position his army into the best angle he can, forced to get a lot of Zealots, but of course those Zealots are not able to close the distance down to the Stalkers quickly enough, and as such, they can just poke in, they can take a few shots, and then they can blink back out again. So this is great play by bling at the moment, who, as we can see back in his own base, is starting to get up his own Colossi. He's still being aggressive, and ShoWTimE is just unrelenting in his defense of this. And of course, when you are trying to defend for so long, it can get difficult, but with his second Colossus on the field, we may see bling forced back. This pylon is going to go down. That was essential for the reinforcements. There are some more further up, but the further back you push those reinforcements, the longer they take to come in, the more time and the greater the defender's advantage will be. So, meanwhile, for ShoWTimE, he does have his Twilight Council down now. He is happily getting down Charge, which of course is essential when he's got so many Zealots in order to close up the distance to these Stalkers, but it's a long way from completing. He's also got +2 on its way. +1 armor is coming down though for bling, so he is making sure he keeps the upgrade advantage. The third base for ShoWTimE almost certain to be cancelled now, because there is just so much stuff coming in. The pylon doesn't manage to get cancelled yet, and even though ShoWTimE's coming down, will bling be able to force the cancel? The answer is yes, he will. And of course there now bling is very happy, because he's got his own third base nearly complete. He's going to stay economically ahead. Work account wise, bling is already a good 10 probes above his opponent, and as such he's going to be feeling fairly good. Those force fields had a small gap in them, unfortunately, and as such we see bling desperately trying to pull back. He's trying to engage as best he can, but that single Colossus is able to start sniping off the damage. 2 more are on their way through. Stalkers try and blink over the rocks. One doesn't quite make the jump though, so will be going down. Of course the rocks here getting taken out as well now, and this is ShoWTimE really starting to apply the pressure. Back at bling's base, he does have 2 Colossi out, and of course the Colossi numbers are just so essential to all of these engagements. ShoWTimE with a slight advantage in terms of the army supply, looking slightly better, but of course bling has his third base now. He has more probes. These Stalkers are taking some damage, so of course bling does need to be careful not to lose those, but he also needs to delay for as long as he can. So this is the slight lull in the action. As ShoWTimE comes round, bling needs to be aware that this army's pushing in, and he is positioning himself back down, seeing it coming. But how much damage is the green Protoss going to be able to do before bling gets into position? Well, the answer could potentially be an awful lot. We see here the damage just going down everywhere. Bling does not yet have extended thermal lance for his Colossus, whereas we do of course see that ShoWTimE does. That means that these Colossi are able to engage better than bling's will be, even though they are in equal numbers for the time being. ShoWTimE also getting 2 Colossi at a time. That is double the production bling has at the moment, and as such this little push could be very, very dangerous. Both these players are just trying to get the ace position in order to get a better concave to deal more damage, and it looks like ShoWTimE is going to go in. The extended thermal lance allows him to get a hit off before bling does. The charge lots are going in. 1 Colossus falls for the Dignitas player, but as we can see now, this third base is under heavy siege. The Zealots are trying to coax their way forward, but of course with extended thermal lance you have to be so careful in order to just kite them back, because we can see now ShoWTimE still applying the pressure, but the third base for bling has managed to stay alive. Lost tab wise, we can still see bling is behind. He's losing more than his opponent, and his economy has leveled up an awful lot. That is the big problem. ShoWTimE though, he's getting up his Templar archives, so he's ready to transition into a different tech path, getting Archons out, ready for what he needs to do. And of course here we see the Templar archives also coming down for bling. This is really late game PvP action now, something that we very rarely get the pleasure of seeing. But of course, these two just trying to get in a nice position. Neither will want to engage now unless they feel they have the advantage. The Colossi count is slightly in ShoWTimE's favor at the moment, but Bling rapidly catching up. ShoWTimE still producing an awful lot of them. The Zealot count, though, is again slightly in ShoWTimE's favor. ShoWTimE just with just a fractionally larger army, about 25 supply greater than that of his opponent. And that's something that Bling really needs to take account of, because while he does have the 3-1 upgrades compared to the 3-0 of ShoWTimE, he's got to make sure that that is enough to deal with it. Bling is getting up his Stargate as well somewhere around here. So, of course, this means that they're both getting all the tech options available to them. They're both trying to make sure that they're in a nice position. We see here that we've got a lot more pylons coming down for ShoWTimE. He's just really fortifying his bases, making sure that he's fine. He may chuck down a few cannons as well, just in case there was any Zealot warp-ins that Bling might decide to throw at him. So, all in all, we've got Bling taking his 4th. Worker count wise, Bling is still just ahead, but ShoWTimE is definitely superior in the army size. That's something that's very strong. This Colossi count is absolutely crazy, 9 and 8 on either side. And with that, of course, the pressure is going to be coming in. ShoWTimE now warping in those 4 High Templar, getting up those 3 Archons as well. So with this, he is definitely going to be getting a very substantial and sizable force to go up against Bling. He's also got these 2 Zealots coming through the top, so I'll be interested to see what they are going to do. This pylon getting taken out, and the one thing that Bling has to be very careful of is just sacrificing units. 1 Stalker does fall there, the other 2 manage to blink back to safety. The Fleet Beacon is on its way as well now. I'm not quite sure where that's coming down, but it is around here somewhere. There we go. So 1 Fleet Beacon for Bling means Mothership will be on the field shortly, and little advantages like that could make the big difference. But this is now getting to the point, of course, where there's going to be just that big engagement that will make or break this game. We don't know when it's going to happen, but it might be very soon. Bling sending these Zealots in. You need to be careful with all these units, because if you sacrifice units for nothing, you're going to run into some problems, because even though you've been economically ahead, if you're losing that much more than your opponent, you're going to be running into some seriously short money times. Now, ShoWTimE does have his 4th base up now. That is good news for him. Bling is on equal bases yet again. He's still slightly behind in terms of the army supply, as we can see. Now going up to nearly 40 supply difference. ShoWTimE has got this opportunity to engage. He has got the 3-1 compared to 3-2 upgrades, so it is quite similar, but a slight advantage still there for Bling. And with such a great army supply and with this great positioning, Bling could be in a lot of problems. You can see the flank coming down. A complete surround is going to occur. Of course, the Colossi for Bling trying to do as much damage as they can, but when there's so much surface area, we can see ShoWTimE just engaging oh so well. He's running and he's cleaned out so much of Bling's army now. The reinforcement is going to be ever so important. Those Archons are able to do a good amount of damage. We see now these Colossi are trying their hardest to micro back, but there is the GG, and that positioning from ShoWTimE, the flank from the top and bottom, allowing the near complete surround, just completely destroyed Bling's army. So I really hope you all enjoyed that game. If you did, make sure you like the video, leave a cool comment, and of course subscribe. I will see each and every one of you for yet another new game tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.